was first diagnosed with diabetes at about the age of 3 months. It devastated my parents, but they were determined to raise me as they would any other child, and I think they did that successfully. And my vision started to deteriorate in the early to mid 1970s. Good morning. Welcome to the Salvador Dalí Museum. My initial reaction to becoming a docent was absolutely not. I'm actually a very shy and a quiet person, and being able to speak publicly to an audience about an artist who I wasn't familiar with, and so I wasn't for it at all. But when I became a docent here at the museum, I had probably about 70% of my vision left, and it was more than adequate to see colors. I could tell reds, yellows, blues, greens, all the primary colors certainly, and most of the shades, the pastels and the lighter shades. And as the years have gone by with my being at the museum, my vision has deteriorated even further until now I probably have only about 10% of my vision. Over here we have a painting called Catechese. I was always afraid that if I had a dog and people knew I couldn't see, that I'd be ostracized. And the exact opposite has happened. Everybody knows Dave, but they don't know me. I'm Patricia Allen, and my companion today is Dave. And Dave is guaranteed to bark every time I make a mistake. Prior to Dave, I was having trouble in the galleries, getting around. I was starting to trip over benches. I would bump into people, and when I changed from one painting to the next, I might have to say 4 or 5 excuse me's. Dave has helped so much. He knows the paintings we're going to spend a long time at, and he'll lay down. Other paintings, he'll stand by my side because he knows I'm only going to be a short period of time. He also entertains the children on the tour. Sometimes there are problems with crying children or youngsters, toddlers and all, but Dave intrigues them. He looks at them and they return the look, they talk to him, and the parents are relieved to be able to listen to the tour, and they're not distracted by the children, which is a great thing. Thomas O'Shea is actually my inspiration. It's been through his love and encouragement and generosity that he's convinced me that there's nothing I can't do. And really, Tom was the one who really every night would teach me and describe things to me and actually read the descriptions of the paintings. He had to have known as much about the art as I did.
When we did the pictures, on the kitchen table or whatever, she could see the colors and she just transposed them into the live pictures. So, and she's remembered those colors. They've diminished considerably. She has very little color perception today, but she's got a great memory. Yeah.
He's always been a great believer that there's nothing I can't do. And so I decided to become a docent. And I took the course, and Peter Tush was my instructor at the time. And he was marvelous. He let me look at some of the postcards from the museum to see the paintings when I took the tests, because I wasn't able to see the images on the screen. I did my final exam with the 3 paintings and passed it with flying colors, and I was off and running. The first time I ever gave a tour, at the very end of it, I was so nervous that I hadn't given enough information to the people, and it was a full hour. At the very end of the tour, I said, "Oh my God, this is my first tour." And the people just roared with laughter and applauded and told me how wonderful I was. And after that, I knew, okay, I can do this. 2 of my fondest memories of events that took place at the Dalí was first when I met Joan Kennedy Smith. She had brought a group of handicapped people to the museum, and she came up to me and she asked me how I described the tours and the paintings to the individuals who might be sight impaired. And she was particularly interested in color. And I explained to her that if they had some vision, I would explain the colors by intensity of hot or cold. But if the person was totally blind, I would use pressure with paler colors, light colors being just a light touch on the back of the hand, whereas if you had black or a dark blue, you would have a very heavy press on the hand. Also, I find that sighted or unsighted people, they're most interested not so much in the color, but in the size of the painting. And I've had several blind groups come through, and the first question was, what size is the painting? My other favorite memory was meeting James Rosenquist. A docent at the time, Doug Strutz, introduced us, and he said to me, "You'll have a lot in common." And the first thing I thought was, what? Because he was an artist, and I certainly am not. But I had looked at his art. It was an exhibition here, and I could see it wonderfully. The bright primary colors he had on one painting, a bit of a stepladder, and I could see his whole painting and appreciate it. And I was telling him this, and he said to me, "I understand you have some vision problems." And with that, we got off the topic of art. If you notice, where the brain should be, there are rocks, because Dalí felt bureaucrats could not think. Also, there are no ears. That's because bureaucrats cannot hear us. It's very similar to today's bureaucrats, if you will. Changes in my tour from when I first started 17 years ago to today is I've become, I believe, more historical and more knowledgeable. When I first started my tours, you tended to talk about the style of the painting, the type of brush strokes, how he created an image. And as I've gone along and my vision has deteriorated, I've given more of a historical perspective and the stories behind the paintings, how it was created, what was influencing him at the time, and why he, in his life, what was going on with his family, with Gala, and trying to influence him and what he's putting on canvas. With the shadow of Mount Pawnee, in this particular painting, it's indicative only of the time of day, but later on in his surrealistic period, shadows or clouds become warning or omens of events to take place in the future. The technique I'm most proud of perfecting is the one of describing the paintings, particularly the masterworks, as I would the face of a clock. At 4:30, you see a shrouded figure. It's a dark brown figure, and you really can't tell the face, but this is Gala. It gives me a point to look at when I'm looking at the painting, and it triggers my memory as to what is in that particular area, so I know what to describe to the people, and they know where to look. You have to let them imagine with this painting that they can see whatever really they want. And I tell them to come back to the painting and spend time with it, to go further away, come closer, that they will see different things. The Dalí Museum is an inspiration to me personally, and I hope other people will be inspired by it. The Dalí Museum itself is a family. Every member of the museum staff is more than helpful. They'll communicate with you, and there's no question that's ever left unanswered. And that does inspire me, not only to do well on my tours, but to learn more on my own. And I've endeavored to do that. I'll be here for a few minutes if you have questions, and I refer them to the other galleries, and to go back and visit the paintings we didn't stop at, and to always tell them that hopefully they'll come again, and to thank them very much.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.